আপনারা দেখছেন ইলেকশন 2015।
Welcome back. Election 2015, the true place where debate really happens. Promise me you did not switch and went to BBC and went to Dimbleby, because this is where all the hate is happening. Off air, on air, I couldn't keep them apart. I ordered some glass of water for myself. Anyway, so we left off on a heat debate. We come back. So Wes, NHS. You love talking about NHS. Put the fear of God into the public about NHS. Tories going to ruin them. I mean, Tories been in the party for, in the power for the last 5 years, and in previously for 14 years. They haven't destroyed the NHS, or have they?
Well, I mean, look at their record in East London. The Barts, the biggest health trust
I'm talking
in Europe,
about the
has
whole
just
country.
gone into special measures. We've got, but across the country, you see the NHS crisis, and it's manifested itself particularly badly in my neck of the woods.
Is it worse than Wales? I come from Wales, and I know what the NHS is like over there, including my own child, who broke his hand, and when his hand was broken, I called 999, and the ambulance says they cannot come. After 15 minutes, they'll phone back to see if ambulance was needed. Well, and that's Labour-run NHS in Wales.
But we can all point to individual cases. My nan's recovering
I'm not talking about individual questions.
She's had really great care. Actually, the issue in Wales, I wanted to nail this argument about Wales, because actually what's happening in Wales, and actually the King's Fund said this, you've got good bits and bad bits right across the UK. What Wales has got in common with England and with Scotland is there's been a lack of funding to deal with an ageing population and growing demand on the NHS.
But Welsh Labour decided not to invest in the Welsh NHS.
What Welsh Labour...
They cut the Welsh NHS funding.
What Welsh Labour...
I'm a Welshman, you're not a Welshman, I know.
I know, well, I've got Welsh heritage, and I'll tell you what's going on in Wales.
I live there.
What's going on in Wales is the Welsh Assembly government has chosen to protect social care, quite rightly, because that's how you reduce demand on the NHS. And the Welsh Assembly government, like every other part of public services, has received less funding from central government in Westminster.
If I fall ill, because I live in Newport, on the border, if I fall ill,
you want to drive a car?
Please take me to Bristol.
I've got bad news for you. The NHS isn't much better in England, and that's because the Welsh NHS and the Welsh government, in common with the rest of the UK, has been hit with deep funding cuts. I'm deputy leader of Redbridge Council. We've been hit with Tory cuts from central government, and the Welsh Assembly government is no different.
NHS is frightening the people out of NHS,
not
saying
at all.
That Tory is going to destroy it.
People aren't frightened about the future, they're frightened about the present.
When you were in government for 13 years, we had the mid-Staffordshire crisis. We had people in their deathbeds not drinking out of a vase. People were dying. You reduced the doctors, you reduced the nurses.
This is just not true.
You put management. You had so many management that doctors and nurses said to me, let me finish. Doctors and nurses, let me finish. No. You had so much managers that doctors were frightened because they had to tick boxes. There was not enough, there was no compassion, there was no honesty in the system. People were scared to speak up. But now, doctors are now saying to me, nurses,
read the report into Bart's Health now.
I do not have to read the report.
In the NHS in East London now.
You seem to take away nurses and put bureaucrats in.
But we have been in government for the last 5 years. You were there for 13 years
and
previous.
We had some of the best outcomes, shorter waiting time, and the highest patient satisfaction.
But isn't it true?
You've imposed a top-down reorganisation, 3 billion.
I speak to doctors and nurses who say the NHS is far better now, and they are proud that we have made those changes.
You are living in fantasy, Mina.
So you're saying residents. So you're saying residents are entitled to.
We're still reading the British
Guys, I got some more money.
Telling me the NHS is in crisis.
These are residents who are
still paying the loans for it.
We're live on the air, guys.
Can I just say that the Lib Dems have committed to the 8 billion to the NHS. They are committed to mental health being seen on equal par to generic health. We are also proposing to remove the NHS, so it's no longer a football for political parties to play with. And we're actually
that's a plan by Lib Dem.
This is a proposal by Lib Dem.
Was that recent today?
This is in our manifesto.
Okay. So NHS will be taken out from...
So the idea is to have a commission, and the commission to absolutely fundamentally the long-term trajectory of the NHS.
How much does that cost?
How it's going to be funded. That's in the 8 billion.
We pay more bureaucrats again, aren't we?
That's in the 8 billion.
Right.
That's in the 8 billion. And what we're proposing to do is...
Where is the 8 billion coming from?
The 8 billion?
Yeah.
The 8 billion comes from a collection of... We've made no bones about it. We are doing tax, and we are also doing...
So you don't know where the 8 billion comes from?
No, I
That's
do.
fine.
I do, but I just have to recall, and because it's
when you recall, you'll come back to me. But you're not any better than the Tories. I just
wanted to say the King's Fund.
Well,
I've actually hang on,
your leader.
But the King's Fund.
Can
I just finish this? The King's Fund have said that the Lib Dem policy for the NHS is the best out of all the political parties, and it's well costed and funded throughout. So we had to drag the Conservatives along, which thankfully they came, and Labour are still sitting on the fence as how they're going to fully fund the NHS.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that there's not funding, but
Labour has weaponized NHS again in this election, as we can see. But I was about to say,
it's going to provide for lots of things.
Yeah, mansion house will pay for everything. I don't live in a mansion, thank God. I said, build my house.
With the mansion tax, you don't have to live in a mansion.
Do you have anything to say on NHS?
It's the jewel in the crown, and UKIP's policy is we're going to put 20,000 nurses on the front line. 8,000
those 20,000 nurses?
Yes.
Are you going to bring any from Europe, or are they going to be all from UK?
Yes, well, at the moment they've stopped a lot of the training, and obviously on our point system immigration, we will want nurses. So we'll get nurses to apply from all around the world to come here and work in the NHS. And that's the point of, you know...
So they can come from Romania or Poland?
Yes, and they're going to get the same point system as someone from Bangladesh. Whereas at the moment...
His leader actually said he prefers people from the Commonwealth, like Bangladesh viewers. Farage prefers people from Bangladesh.
No, we're open to the world. The Commonwealth's been very good to this country.
He said he prefers people from the Commonwealth.
Not prefer. He wants a fair system for the world, not just one system for Bangladesh and one system for Europe.
His comments were that he prefers migrants from the Commonwealth than Eastern Europe.
That's his preference, isn't it? But we want an even playing field.
This is a gentleman who is a leader of a political party that you ask us to vote. Now, anytime he makes a comment, he says that's his preference. It's like that's not the voice of his party. But
it is the voice of the party. It's just the way you want to take it.
So therefore, your party prefers people from Bangladesh. The viewers love this, so why are you denying it?
Well, I'm not denying it. I'm just saying that it's a little bit more even than that. The point system is, you know, if you hit the right score...
So you're going to give the NHS 20,000 more nurses?
Yes, we are, and we've got the money to do it.
And if you don't hit the right score, you're going to have to stay on the
island.
That's the Australian immigration policy.
Gardeners, then we
the
don't need
Australian
gardeners.
policy.
We want to save the
Australian
space for the
immigration
people that we
policy
need.
is essentially like the financial markets. They sell the migrants. You do not land in Australia. You get sold, essentially sold. They pay the islands.
You're talking about asylum seekers. You're talking about the NHS. It's a totally different topic.
Migrants.
And I'd like to go back to the NHS because our policies are so good for our country, and it's what most people want. When their grandma's sick, they want them looked after. They want the social care back into the community, so our old people are not laying on the hospital wards. We want our mental health budget put back so they're not in police stations. Our social care under these people has become so terrible that we really need to sit up and take account of the situation and fix it.
So has UKIP changed its view on privatising the NHS then? Because we've had
Hold up, now you have said something that's totally untrue. You privatised it with a PFI contract. The London hospital doesn't even belong to us anymore. We pay £2.5 million rent every week for that hospital, and that's due to the Labour Party. That should be spent on our families who need medical care. This is why I'm in politics, because I've had enough of the political elite, all right? It's about time that people stood up and took back our assets.
I mean, is he right? Is UKIP the voice of the people? Because I see some Asians, you know, Muslims, people of all colour now joining the UKIP because they're fed up of these elite, Labour and Tories, and you have these leaders who've never worked in their life.
Hang on a minute. I'm sorry. I don't think the answer to Britain's problems, particularly the economic crisis, is to put our stock behind a banker like Nigel Farage. And actually, look at the UKIP party. It's Tory people, Tory money and Tory policies. All the way through. Lots of disaffected Tories, Tory people, Tory money, Tory policies.
But your answer to everything is make a big deficit.
A lot of Labour people are
you
going
left
to
a note in the bank saying when they took over, no more money.
At the last local election,
you spent every penny, gave it all wherever it went. And it wasn't a good service.
Can I just say,
we had MRSA,
we have a duty.
The hospitals
we do have a duty.
Look,
we do have a duty.
Labour need to
we do have a duty.
Admit their mistake and apologise for what you've done to the British economy and the NHS.
I would second that, but you do have a duty to actually explain the economic situation well. We have a duty, and I would like to take that duty. So when we are talking about there was no money in the budget, we're talking about the income and expenditure.
No money in the government when they took over.
We are talking about the income and expenditure. For clarity, our debt as it stands today is, I think, 1.4 trillion. So everything we're talking about here today has nothing to do with addressing that. This is about income and expenditure.
And
that's
it.
What we're discussing.
But battling the public is not correct.
However, when we're saying that there's no money in, money isn't static, it's fluid. So when you say there is no money there, it's slightly inaccurate. When we talk about
food banks everywhere
and expenditure,
because that was their austerity
another
measures.
Subject. I just want to clarify.
There was no
money. Because I think it's important that me as an everyday person understands this. I think it's important that my Bengali peers understand this clearly, and I think it's important that the general public understand that clearly, and we have that duty. And I just like to say I think I've exercised that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, is it that the UKIP, as I said before, are the voice of the real people? People who are fed up with Labour politics and Tory politics. People don't trust your parties anymore.
I think what UKIP are very good at is saying that the reason why the country's in a mess is because of political elites and because of immigration. And I think that politics in Britain has been broken. I don't dispute that at all. But actually, what's been missing, going back to Tina's point about responsibility to understand what's gone wrong, we've got to understand that what happened with the global financial crisis was a lack of good financial regulation and oversight. We have to take responsibility as a Labour government, as do all the other governments who were in power at the time, for not regulating enough.
Yeah, but
David Cameron has got to be honest about the fact he called for less financial regulation, and we've learned the lesson.
Roof when the sun was shining, and your previous Chancellor of the Exchequer, Mr. Brown, has sold our gold reserve when it was on the floor.
People have selective amnesia around our period in office. We had one of the longest periods of growth in this country's history. When we came in 1997, our public services were crumbling. Our public services were crumbling in 1997.
But why is it? Why is it? When I look at history, when I look at history, at end of every Labour government since the Second World War, there's a recession.
Yes.
Why does that happen?
Because you borrow too much, spend too much. And
that's right, Mina, isn't it? Yeah, the global... hang on a minute, let's just think about the absurdity of this point. The global economy crashed because Labour invested too much in the NHS. Is that really what you're saying? Or was it the fact that your donors in the city who are pouring money into the coffers...
But that's a typical...
They absolutely gambled away our futures. And I'm angry that the global government didn't regulate enough.
When it talks about that? I mean, when...
Look at all these billionaires, the Labour ministers who live in Islington.
When they were bringing
the rich have paid more tax under us than ever before.
When they were bringing in regulation to regulate the bankers who bankrupted us almost, your party was saying it's too much bureaucracy. Bankers should be let free. They should have less regulation. That's what your party was saying.
And they're cashing in.
But the thing is, at the time, regardless of what our party would have said, you still went ahead.
No, I'll tell you what your party
that,
said. Up
right?
until the crash, you said you would match our spending plans pound for pound. You called for less financial regulation of the city and said we were strangling financial services.
But that is your problem.
That was a Conservative position.
You are blaming the bankers
Conservative policies are never the answer.
Instead of
we keep repeating the same processes, we're going to get the same answers. It's time for a fresh change.
You did not have a proper economic plan, and you're blaming the bankers. That's what it is. And you still don't have an economic plan.
We've got to give the others a chance.
I was going to say
I mean, character of a party.
We've got to give the others a chance.
You've got to look at the character. Their character are taking away the £10 from the old people at Christmas. That's how they're going to save the country's debts. You know,
and your solution is getting out of EU will pay for everything.
No, stop giving $1 billion to India for their military, right? Stop this foreign aid nonsense that's going on and bring it back and fix the infrastructure of our country.
Okay, I just want to say nothing is going to touch the 1.4 trillion. Nothing we do is going to... But what we are trying to do, and as I've said, you have a duty to be honest with the people, is what we are trying to do is have an income and expenditure balance. So please, you just use the word debt again, and I feel that's just misleading.
A word?
You use the word debt, and you're not talking about debt, you're talking about the deficit, which is this income and expenditure. That's what we're arguing about.
We're still in debt.
You have to deal with but you do have to deal with both.
No, the debt, the 1.4 trillion, none of the parties, 1.4 trillion,
to do with the
none of the parties are touching. And the reality, can I just say, the reality is, the reason why we're in such strife is we have a commercial banking system which is running our economy. So as much as I'm in politics, because I'd like to have a say, the reality is 97% of our economy is dictated by the banking industry. The reason we have a housing crisis, which is affecting all the communities, especially in Tower Hamlets, is because the 97% of banks are throwing all the money at the same thing called property. And if you throw all of our economy at one thing, that raises the price. So the reason you and I cannot afford, or I can't afford my rent, I'm not sure about other people, but generally people at home are struggling to pay for their rent, is because the 97% of our economy, which is dictated by the banks, have thrown all the money at one place instead of
taxation.
Wait, come on. I am the host. Give me a chance.
May I finish?
I'm not going to any chance in this show.
May I finish? Instead of investing in infrastructure, and that's where it's gone wrong.
You've talked about the economy.
Thank you.
But can I just say...
wait a minute, 1 minute. I decide who says, yeah? Thank you. Isn't it true that the public don't trust Labour with the economy anymore? Every time you go in, you make it a mess.
I think people have actually seen over the last 5 years, they're told how great the story is. We've had a cost of living crisis. People aren't
cost of living crisis doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Not exist.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Prices have risen faster than wages throughout most of this parliament, and people are feeling the pinch in their pocket. As Tina said, it's the housing costs, the transport costs. I mean, that's why
cost of fuel has gone down, cost of food has gone down,
and it's
cost
about
of clothing has gone down.
Inflation is low,
my problem with this government is that they have balanced the books on the backs of the poorest. We have said quite unapologetically, and feel free to disagree, but we have said we will reintroduce a 50p tax rate for people earning over £150,000
why did you not do that for 13 years? Let me say, why did you not do that on the 13 years you were in power? You only brought the 50p up 2 months before the election last year. So you could have done it. You could have done that when you were in power for 13 years, but you didn't do it.
Because you take a proportionate. No, hang on a minute. You take a proportionate approach to tax and spending. I don't want to tax people any more than necessary in order to fund our public services and make sure that everyone has a good standard of living.
But that was our approach throughout
13 years of overall prosperity for most of that period.
Well, isn't it true the Exchequer is now getting more in taxes by reducing the top rate of tax?
No, this is crazy. And actually, when you look, this comes right.
It's all about how much money.
No, hang on a minute, because this comes right back to the issue around cost of living. We're constantly told, for example, that unemployment is falling and isn't the economy great. Why aren't the tax receipts pouring into the Treasury? Because people are on low-paid, insecure work, zero-hour contracts and exploitation. That is why the economy isn't booming. That's why the Tories aren't romping home with a majority. Because the Tories are saying it's great and people aren't filling it in their pockets.
Is that your policy? You're going to tax the people more so that you'll...
No, in fact, we'll cut business rates for small and medium-sized businesses. We'll reintroduce the 10p starting rate of tax. We're going to go further than you have done already. Well, but also we're going to reverse your millionaires' tax cut.
Yeah, but you talk about it.
Millionaires are paying much more tax now than ever before.
5,500 people who are in work and in poverty in my constituency, whilst cutting the taxes of the richest. I think that is a disgrace.
We have reduced tax for 3 million people who
including
don't have
the
to
millionaires
pay,
at the top,
who do not have to pay tax at all.
And we've got a million people relying on food banks.
You abolishing the 10p tax rate hit the poorest the hardest.
Just 1 minute.
But you can put the best taxation system for the lower income bracket, you know, no tax on the minimum wage.
But you'll crash the economy by pulling us out of Europe.
25 million people are paying less tax under us.
All the funds.
That's also Tory policy. They say that.
Well, I think they're talking UKIP now. I mean, lots of it. I mean, this is what seems to happen.
Are we saying UKIP and Tory are the same?
No, but what happens is UKIP make policies and people start seeming to talk, you know, add stuff.
All right.
Very much across the board.
You would crash the economy by pulling us out of Europe, though. That's the problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, voice is getting heated up.
There's no basis for that.
So wait, we come back after the break, okay? Don't go away, don't go to Dimbleby, stay here. We'll see you after the break.
আপনারা দেখছেন ইলেকশন 2015।